Persona fans, and welcome back to Trinity Soul Tuesdays, the show where I cover an episode of Persona Trinity Soul every 2 weeks and encourage you all to watch along with me. When we last left off, Yuki was kidnapped, and Konoru summoned a big spooky persona. On today's episode, Yuki's still kidnapped, and we find out that Konoru's big spooky persona caused Narasaki to come down with apathy syndrome. While everyone is visiting him in the hospital, Akihiko reveals to the gang that Yuki's kidnapping was an intentional maneuver orchestrated by Akihiko to help them track down the Maribito hideout. He's convinced they need Jun's ability to pacify personas for their grand plan, and decided they needed to take this drastic measure because all the crazy stuff that's been going on lately is the whale's way of retaliating from the Maribito messing with the Sea of Consciousness. And Shin doesn't take it well and punches Akihiko right in the face. Harder. Back at the Maribito's hideout, Saki talks to Yuki and says Jun must have known who she really was the entire time, so why didn't he rat her out? And that's a good question, actually. But Jun knew she was lost on her own journey, whatever that means. Konoru wakes up and accuses Saki of disguising herself as Mayuri, but Saki reveals that Mayuri never existed. Wait, what? Inui tells the group that Jun had actually volunteered to be used as bait to find the Maribito's hideout, but only as a last resort, because he'd already foreseen this exact thing happening. Inui and Akihiko are part of a secret branch of the police, and while their official mission may be to cover up anything and everything related to personas, their goal is to end the Maribito and stop this once and for all. And to do that, they're gonna need the help of persona users. Sotaro and Udo are loading Yuki up into one of the Maribito pods to try and harness the persona that she can't use, while Konoru tries to grill them. Mayuri whispers sweet nothings in her ear and she falls like a sack of potatoes. Shiba is busy hanging around Kujo's comatose body, while Sotaro comments that Shiba must really like the guy, and Shiba probably hates him for constantly bad-mouthing Kujo. Shin, meanwhile, is attempting to get in touch with the president of Hiragi Pharmaceuticals, and after literally pulling a follow that car in his cab, the president stops at the beach and the two meet face to face. We learn a lot from this meeting on the pier. Hiragi was also part of the group of researchers working for Komatsubara with Shin's parents. The research was to try and control people by using their unconsciousness, and while threading that line, they accidentally created the complex personas. Komatsubara found out that Ayane would be a perfect test subject, and she agreed to all the experiments to support her father. But after learning what the true end goal was, she killed herself, and the Kanzato parents left the team shortly after that. Partially because of that, but also because Komatsubara had discussed what an amazing test subject their unborn baby at the time would be. And Shin was that baby. After that, Komatsubara bought himself an orphanage, like any sane person would totally do, and experimented on all the orphans, and those orphans were, you guessed it, the Maribito. Udo tells Sotaro that they can't access Seth, and wonders if Shin had already cut off the persona. Udo attempts once more to pitch his perfectly logical idea of letting Shin sever all their personas and starting a new life, but Sotaro actively refuses. He never trusted Kujo, but the only thing he's ever wanted was someone or something that would never leave him or betray him, and to him, his persona is that something. Saki thinks back to when she and Toma were out murdering persona users together to collect them for Kujo, who instructs them to never fight a Special A latent alone, and report to him if they ever find a latent who is capable of reading the minds of others. You know, like Jun. President Hiragi tells Shin about all the regret he feels for what he's done, and Shin is all like, yeah, you should feel bad. I don't forgive you. I don't forgive the Maribito. I don't forgive my parents. And I definitely don't forgive Komatsubara, who apparently kickstarted that event 10 years ago, and didn't so much save Jun and Yuki's life as he did use them for his experiments. Shiba's persona is going crazy town banana pan, so Udo runs to bring him some pills, but by the time he arrives, Shiba has been ripped inside out, and Komatsubara has absorbed his persona. Sotaro turns to Saki and is like, hey, now that the nerds are gone, you want to see something cool? Sotaro had retraced Yuji's step on the day he spilled that ketchup on the ground and retired to Europe, and found these pods that are filled with clones of Ayane. He tells her about Kujo's real plan to eventually kill all of them and put all of the power they've collected for him into the clone. As Sotaro screams at the clone, she does that totally cliche thing where like, oh dang, her eyes moved. Sotaro summons his persona to attack her, and that is where this episode ends. So, I know as far as my show goes, this wasn't the funniest episode, but that's because this was just a genuinely good episode of the show itself, and I didn't have a lot to make fun of. All of the pieces are really starting to fall into place, and while some may argue it took them long enough, we are finally at the point when everything is really starting to pay off, and it's awesome. Those of you that are watching along at home, what did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you all again in 2 weeks, but for now, so long. On the next episode of Trinity Soul Tuesdays, everything I've ever wanted from this series happens in this episode. Do not miss it!